First, right now at noon, a crowd is gathered right now outside the Fulton County Courthouse. They're demonstrating in support of more than 60 people who are facing a judge today in a massive racketeering case. I'm Joy Limnakron.
And I'm Rick Fulbaum, and today's hearing focuses on their alleged roles in criminal acts related to protests of the future Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Schramm is live in downtown Atlanta. So, Rebecca, what are you seeing there?
Well, Rick and Joy, when the protest first began at about 9 o'clock this morning, a lot of people were gathered at the Central Avenue entrance, but we've noticed sheriff's deputies have now moved them across the street because they were blocking the sidewalk and the bike lanes. Several of them were yelling insults at the deputies, but so far no clashes of any significance. Outside the Fulton County Courthouse, demonstrators gather for what at times seems like a party. They represent several activist groups that have the same purpose: to stop the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, which these demonstrators call Cop City, a place they believe will lead to the militarization of police while disrupting what they call an urban forest. They're here to support the 61 defendants accused of conspiring to organize acts of violence, intimidation, and property destruction toward those involved in building the facility and protecting the property.
They're trying to repress free speech, and they're ultimately trying to crush any dissent against them.
Inside the courtroom, the defendants gather in groups with their attorneys to face the judge. Some of the defendants face charges of domestic terrorism, attempted arson, and money laundering. All 61 defendants face charges of racketeering, which their supporters call overkill, claiming prosecutors have a weak case.
All of the charges are eventually going to get dropped. All these people are going to be free.
That's your hope.
That's what's going to happen.
Now, the judge is calling the defendants in groups of 5 to make sure they understand the charges against them. My colleague Patrick Quinn is in the courtroom right now, and he will have updates for you this afternoon and evening. Live at the Fulton County Courthouse, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.